In the 90s, since the impact of Street Fighter II, which revolutionized the fighting game phenomenon, many video game companies made so many Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat clones. It seemed that nothing was new in the fighting game genre. Until 1994, as video games are innovated to 3D, a new fighting game hits to the arcades and showed us something that we have never seen before. And that game is Killer Instinct. Hell fucking yeah! If you rate a game on how much it kicks ass, then Killer Instinct should definitely be one of your favorite games of all time. Why, you may ask? Because this game is the full package. It's fast-paced action, blood and gore, epic soundtrack, unbelievable combos, fatalities, and a fantastic line of characters to choose from. You have characters like Thunder, the Native American chief, Saberwolf, the deadly werewolf, Riptor, the deadly raptor, Cinder, the human made out of lava, Spinal, a skeletal pirate's TJ combo, former heavyweight champion of boxing, Jago, the wild ninja, Glacius, the ice-making machine mutant, Orchid, the sexy ninja spy, and my personal favorite, Fulgor, the ultimate cyborg killing machine, where they fight each other to the last man standing to face the Cyclops warlord named Idol, and each and every one of those characters has their own set of moves. What made Killer Instinct more unique than any other fighting game ever released are the combos. Even though they're pretty hard to apply, man, they are fun as hell. 3 hits for a triple combo, 4 hits for a super combo, 5 hits for a hyper combo, 6 hits for a brutal combo, all the way to 60 hits, which is called and learning to master all those combos was no easy task because it takes a long time to master them. When I got my main started, it took me months to learn how to do an ultra combo, and sadly, it only works when the opponent's energy is flashing red. Also, when you're tired of your opponent trying to do many combos on you, or button mashing, you can apply the combo breaker to stop them from being too cheap on you. You don't really have to apply the ultra combo, but instead, apply a fatality, which is your finishing blow, which is also hard to master. Killer Instinct does not set out to fight at rounds, where the character loses all his energy bar, they start all over with all their energy restored, and has to win by 2 rounds. But instead, KI gives the player 2 chances where the loser regenerates his health and has his or her last chance, and the winner remains his health until the end of one of the player's second chance. KI, the arcade version, is a 2-type fighting game, depending on what stage you're playing, where there is 1-on-1 2D style fighting, or a 3D 360 degrees fighting style, which you can see selected fighters to go in a different direction and fly the top by zooming in and zooming out. The graphics in KI, the arcade, was way ahead of its time. We're talking about 1994, where consoles and PCs were having a hard time trying to get to that level of graphics. Rare, the company that is now known for Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong Country, used the same technology where they used photographs to make the character, but instead of using real people to simulate characters, like in Mortal Kombat, they used CGI graphics used by Silicon Graphics computers and shot it into the game. They used the same strategy to make Donkey Kong Country the same year. In 1994, both Donkey Kong Country and Killer Instinct were a huge success. Seeing this game for the first time when I was a kid shocked the hell out of me because it was so epic to see 2 pros to go at it at each other. But I wasn't able to play arcade games at the time because I was too short. And now, since computers are able to emulate arcade games, you should be able to download MAME into your computer and get Killer Instinct ROM, because sadly the arcade version has never hit to home consoles. You should also buy yourself an arcade stick with a USB attached to it, because playing the game with only keyboards, you will get your ass kicked. Man, with the smooth animation and how chaotic it was to see 2 characters to unbelievably go at it in the most unimaginative way, there is no way that you can say that it's not awesome, because it has awesome written all over it. During the time when Killer Instinct arcade game was released, Nintendo, the publisher, was showing us what the future console, the Nintendo Ultra 64, is capable of, but we weren't able to wait until 1995, and later it was delayed to 1996 when the Nintendo Ultra 64 was finally released. In 1994, Rare made huge success with Killer Instinct and Donkey Kong Country, and both of those games are remembered as one of the best games of the 90s. That's why I give KI Arcade a 6 fingers out of 5. After Donkey Kong Country was released, Rare decided to make Killer Instinct to go on the Super Nintendo. But the problem is, how is this game going to make it good on the Super Nintendo? The SNES wasn't capable of that technology, and we would have to wait till the Ultra 64 to come out at the time. Since they kept their promise that KI was going to be on consoles, and the Nintendo 64 was going to be delayed, KI headed to the Super Nintendo. So in 1995, the same year that Donkey Kong Country 2 was released, Killer Instinct has hit from arcades to home consoles on the Super Nintendo. And you know what? It's not half half bad. And a matter of fact, it's just as good as the arcades. Rare put a lot of effort to make this game good by using the Super Nintendo's capabilities. This was actually the first Killer Instinct game that I played as a kid, and man, it's still fun as hell since the day I first played it at a friend's house. The game also came with the CD soundtrack of the game called Killer Cuts, which made it a full price deal. Even though KI in the arcade has better graphics, but the SNES version has the sense of charm when it's almost like one of my favorite games of all time, Donkey Kong Country 2 turned into a fighting game. The CPU in this version are just as hard as the arcade version. Even though zooming in and out, 3D camera, and full motion videos are removed in KI Super Nintendo version, the SNES version has features such as training, tournament mode, and unlimited continues, which the arcade version does not have, while keeping the combos, fatalities, blood, and set of characters to remain in this version. Even though the SNES version is a lot different than the arcade version, there was not one thing I could find that made this port bad. This game is just as good as the arcade version. KI on the NES version gets a 6 fingers out of 5 for doing a good job for bringing ultra combos to our home just like in the arcades. The same year that KI was released for the SNES, it was also released for the Game Boy. But sadly, it was a pretty bad idea. The SNES version is an exception because it was almost like Donkey Kong Country 2 turned into a fighter, but this really bothers me because you got a D-pad and 2 buttons, poor quality sound, and a technology of a gaming system that has a lot of limitations. I know that the Game Boy is the greatest handheld system of all time with games like Metroid 2, Link's Awakening, Pokemon Red and Blue, and the addicting Tetris, but KI in the Game Boy was not that good. Other than the graphics, neither Sindor or Riptor appears in this port, and the moves were heavily altered due to the limited controls of the portable. I'm sorry, I love the original Game Boy, but the KI in the portable system was frustrating as hell to manage. So my rating for KI Game Boy version is the same rating I would give Mortal Kombat Game Boy version, a 1 finger out of 5. Okay, with that out of the way, let's see what's next on the list. Oh my god! Now that's what you call a fighting game sequel. The graphics are better, the design is better, the animation's better, the combos are easier, the controls are better, the sound is better, the blood is bloodier, the soundtrack is better. Hell, everything is better in KI2, baby! You have Fulgore, Jago, Spinal, TJ Combo, Glacius, Saberwolf, and Orchid returning to the series looking better than ever, especially Orchid, who looks sexier than before. Woohoo! And exclusively on KI2, you have new characters such as Maya, the Amazonian warrior, Kim Woo, an Asian martial artist, and Tusk, the barbarian with a long sword, who are all fighting each other just to challenge the mighty Gargos. But sadly, they took off Cinder and Riptor. But that doesn't destroy the gameplay because you got everything you expect from a Killer Instinct game. From the combos, fatalities, and very well-aged graphics. If you love KI, you should have played KI2 on your main. Unlike the first game, in KI2, players can now open combos with new and less risky moves than before. Additionally, super moves can be placed into combos, greatly increasing their damage and potency as well as being unbreakable. Additionally, combos can be extended by using throws, super linkers, manual doubles, and fatalities. As a result of weakening normal moves, other changes to the system, combos have become more devastating in KI2. Sadly, I never saw this game when I was a kid, but finally being able to play it on my main. I had a lot more fun with this game than any other game ever created. Overall, this game is so awesome. Every time I get on my computer, I turn on KI to play at least one match before I get on to what I need to do on my computer. That's how much I love this game. I give Killer Instinct 2 an ultimate 6 fingers out of 5. On 1996, when KI2 hit the arcades, Nintendo has finally released Nintendo 64, formerly known as the Nintendo Ultra 64. All of us who enjoyed N64 fully enjoyed Mario 64, and KI fans were expecting KI on the system. We all expected to see N64 technology to be just like KI in the arcades, because before the N64 was released, every time we saw the logo, they always said the Nintendo Ultra 64, and it looked like it had promise. But sadly, this was not Killer Instinct or Killer Instinct 2 because it's Killer Instinct Gold. I listened to many KI fans throughout the years saying that this game was a disappointment because it wasn't actually KI2. It was a different KI game with the same KI2 characters with gold outfits and lower frame rates than the arcade version. In a way, they are right because the game suffered from graphical downgrades and there was no alternate endings like the arcade versions had, due to the memory limitations of the Nintendo 64 cartridge. It's no wonder why Square jumped to Sony PlayStation with Final Fantasy VII. It's true that the game at the graphical and technical standpoint is not as good as KI Arcade or KI2, but it did have more features than any other KI game ever released. You have team battles, which you can fight up to 11 characters, team elimination, trading and advanced trading, options menu, unlockable contents, which makes the replay value very high for me. I don't know why people complain about this game, but it did have everything that you expect from a KI game because you still have combos, fatalities, plus so much features that no other KI game has ever had. But KI Gold is a fantastic fighting game for me because the team battles and you finally have a 3D dynamic camera right on your console. I like this game much better than Super Smash Bros. On the N64. I've made more combos and fatality moves than any other KI game ever, and I especially loved every minute of it. That's why I give Killer Instinct Gold a 6 fingers out of 5. It was a non-stop combo fest that was good back then and still good as today. So in choosing my top 5 KI games in order, I would have to say KI2, KI Arcade, KI Gold, KI NES, and KI Game Boy. Rare, I ask you as a deep fan of your old games, please stop fucking around and make KI3. If you don't do it, I'll give you in